Hi, Shalom friends. I want to share today with you a profound lesson based on and gleaned from the story of Hanukkah. In brief, some 2,100 years ago, there was a mighty empire called the Greek-Syrian Empire, and it controlled Israel. At that time, Israel still had its own temple, and there were hundreds of thousands or perhaps millions of Jews living on the land. And the wicked tyrant of a king, whose name was Antiochus, insisted that all of the people in this holy land of Israel subscribe to the Hellenistic way of life, the Greek philosophy way of life. Well, a group of pious priests instigated a rebellion, the few against the many, the weak against the strong, and over 3.5 years of brutal fighting, a lot of heroism and courage, they were victorious, and they were able to capture in Jerusalem the Temple Mount, and they came into the Holy Temple to resume the divine service. When they came into the temple, it was defiled, it was dirty. They had to spend the day cleaning it, and towards the evening, they were ready to dedicate the Holy Temple by lighting the menorah, which was an exquisite candelabra. According to Jewish tradition, the candelabra could only be lit with olive oil that had to be pure, and they began to realize that there was no pure olive oil available. They searched and searched, and they were able to find one jug or one jar of olive oil. Now, let's assume, for contemporary terms, you need a gallon of oil to light the menorah, so it should last the 12 hours of the night. So they found 1 gallon of pure olive oil, they lit the menorah. They knew it would take at least a week to produce new oil. But they decided, you know what, God made for us a miracle, we got back the temple, let's do what we can tonight, and tomorrow we'll see what happens. But to their amazement and the absolute delight, God made a miracle, and the lights of the menorah, which should have been extinguished at the end of the night, seemed to remain full, or just go down a little bit. And when it came the second night, they said, well, we don't know where this oil came from, because naturally there should be no oil left. It should have been consumed through the burning of the hours of night, perhaps 12, 13 hours of burning, but let's light it again. So they lit it again. It was miracle oil, and it continued for night 3 and night 4. All the way through night 7, it lasted till night 8, and at that time, 7 days had passed, and they had new oil. Now, since then, the Jewish people light 8 candles or 8 bright lights during each day of Hanukkah, each night of Hanukkah. Okay, you're familiar with the story, I'm sure, but reflect for a moment. We light and we celebrate 8 nights based on the miracle that took place in the Holy Temple. But I made it very clear to you, quoting the Talmud and the tradition, that there was enough oil for the first night. So actually, the miraculous quality of the oil remaining was for 7 additional nights, or 7 additional days. Shouldn't we celebrate this miracle by having a week of Hanukkah, not 8 days? After all, the first night when it burnt, there was enough oil for those 12 hours or so. So then why do we have to make it sound like that the first night of Hanukkah, which was natural oil burning, was the same as night number 2 through night number 8, which is miracle oil? And here one of the Hasidic masters brings an amazing thought. He says, it's true. The gallon of oil that they found the first night was just ordinary oil. It was squeezed from an olive, and it was done properly, and it was set aside, and the miracle was that they found the oil. But the oil was normal oil. However, because God would eventually change this oil from natural oil to miracle oil, meaning when it comes the second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh night, the oil that was burning would be through a miracle, then even the first night was also a miracle. Because when the natural gets touched by the finger of God to become supernatural, then it's not natural anymore. The gallon of oil that burned the first night was a miracle. It was a miracle oil, even though it only took 24 hours later for it to emerge that this ordinary oil was actually extraordinary. Why am I excited about this thought? Because if I ask you, you're a student of history, has the Jewish nation experienced miracles? And you laugh, of course. When we left Egypt, we walked on dry land through a sea. Continuing all the way to the 20th century, hundreds of millions of people attacked a small country of barely 2 million people, and they win the war in 6 days. Is that not a miracle? And I say, you're right. We could actually pinpoint or specify many aspects of Jewish existence which is miraculous. But I'm asking you, it's 2018. You have a nice job because your parents were good parents, treated you nicely, gave you a good education, and now you're working in IT. And you're doing well, thank God. Is there anything miraculous about your job or about you in your life? Or how about your parents? They went to college and they were good American citizens and they also have a nice job. And what about the grandparents who have been citizens for 40, 50 years? Anything miraculous about American Jewry today? And you begin to scratch your head. You say, yeah, but we come from a nation of miracles. No, my friend. That's the lesson of Hanukkah. That we are a nation that has experienced miracles and will continue to experience miracles, then the ordinary is not ordinary. An oil that has within it the capacity to burn for only 12 hours, but times that by 7, that's not ordinary oil, my friend. That's a miracle oil, though for the first 12 hours you wouldn't know it. Me and you, and together with our brethren all over the world, we are walking miracles. Our existence is miraculous. Our jobs, our families, our education, our health, our very standing on earth is miraculous. Because you cannot have miraculous and natural separated from one another. They say, half-jokingly, that a couple came, were having some marital discord. They came to the rabbi for some wise advice, and he tried to explain to them, look, you're a unit. You're like two sides of the same coin. Why are you fighting? And one of them said, Rabbi, that's exactly the problem. We're two sides of one coin. Each one is facing a different direction. But when you look at the Jewish people, the two sides of the coin is miraculous, ordinary. They're not facing two different directions. They're actually facing inwards. It is one coin. By us, we flow. The cycle of time and the cycle of life flows from miraculous to ordinary to natural to supernatural. You can't even distinguish between the two. In the supernatural lies a touch of the natural. As one Israeli general said, we don't believe in miracles, we rely on them. That's natural. And in the natural, it's not natural, it's actually supernatural. In the days of the Mashiach, what will happen? One of the most powerful effects of Messianic life will be where we will begin to understand that there are no two dimensions. There's only one dimension. It's a godly life. And a godly life is where the supernatural and the ordinary, the mundane and the spiritual merge harmoniously into simply being one with our mission, one with our God. So, join me in anticipating the days of the Mashiach, in making the extraordinary or ordinary, and making the ordinary extraordinary, and merging the miraculous with the natural, and doing this seamlessly from the synagogue to the workplace, from the school to the kitchen, from the bedroom to the Yom Kippur service. It is all one. Shalom.